loud cause there's much crowd. Microphone check as I choose my route. I'm playing on the road, I've got no fear. The sound from my mouth is a rap you hear. No valley too deep, no mountain too high. Reach the top, touch the sky. You try to diss me cause I sell out. I'm making techno and I am proud. Upside down, grab the microphone as I bump the sound. You want more? More you get. Way too unlimited in effect. Check out the sound and stop this distortion. When you think it's finished, here's another portion. Just lay back as we take control. Take you down into the twilight zone.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. We are going to get started. Today, we're continuing with understanding how shame came about. Where did it come from? How did it show up? Why is it still here? So this idea of installed shame, right? We weren't filled with shame as a child when we were born. It became a self-talk. And that self-talk became installed, and it became installed because the brain does two things. Will this kill me? Or how fast could I recognize a pattern? And we did it out of survival. So we're going to have some conversation today. I'm going to use an anagram today. And the anagram is family. That's where shame comes from. It's family. We pass it down. It was passed down to us. And maybe I'm going to shed some insight, some awareness of how this happened and how we can rewire it. So that's going to be my goal today. So why did I choose family? Well, I could have used any metaphor. I could have used any metaphor to teach the origin of shame, but this one kept coming back up, right? Again and again was family. I'm just looking at my own, okay? And then as I started to dive deeper into it to figure out how could we use that so that it's easily remembered, not necessarily their fault. That was out of a survival mechanism of their own. They were taught it. Our brothers and sisters were taught it. Our parents were taught it. Our grandparents were taught it. It's just a survival mechanism. It's not because our families were bad people. And the reason I chose the word family, it's because families were the first programmers. Before you learned how to spell your name, before you formed your first sentence, you were already learning how to filter yourself, right? In self-talk, we do a visualization. We have the audience visualize two individuals behind a curtain, right? One on the left side, one on the right side. And the one on the left side was somebody who was verbally abused as a child and was taught that they're no good and was told that they'll never be anything. And the one on the other side was praised and given the ability to expand their capabilities and capacities. and you start to develop, you start to understand a energy around these two. What are the shoulders like on the one on the left-hand side who was told they're not good enough? What's their posture like? What do you think the sound of their voice is like, right? We learned how to do all of this filtering long before we could spell our name or write our sentence, right? These lessons didn't come through a textbook or lectures. They came through tone. They came through silence. They came through presence, meaning being present or absence of being present. If any of you ever have used the phrase, then mom gave the look or dad gave the look and you knew stuff was about to go down, that's presence and silence, right? They came through the systems we were born into. We were born into our family. So I created this model family, Family. The name to name hidden shame, the hidden shame architecture that we didn't choose, but we've carried it, right? Because I understand when we understand the architecture of how this was built, we can finally begin to undevelop this conversation. Does that make sense? So as we move into this, let me give you this. I'll give you what they stand for, right? So maybe you want to make a page in your journal. You may or may not take that many notes, but you'll probably fill up a page of content, of awareness, of some exercises. So the first one is fractured truth, the F, fractured truth. And these are your first lessons in self-doubt, right? Where do babies come from? The stork. That's a fractured truth. They don't say, well, mom and dad had intercourse and the baby was born 9 months later. Daddy deposited semen in mommy's egg, right? We don't say that. We give them a fractured truth. Well, we want to protect them. I get it. Listen, I get it. I'm not saying that we need to tell them about the birds and the bees the first time they ask. What I am saying is that we are conditioned to fractured truths. This is what happens when a child feels one thing, but is taught something else is true. You felt angry, but you were told what? You were being dramatic. You were scared. You were told to stop overreaching. You asked questions. You were told to stay in your place. What's that phrase? Children should be seen and not heard. You sensed pain. You were told everything was fine. Any of this sound familiar? So what did you do? You split. Not left, not like in the 60s. I split, man. No, you decided to, you had to deal with this duplexity, this fractured truth. So your body holds one truth and your brain learns to override it to survive. This making sense? Your body holds one truth and your brain learns to override it so it can survive. And that's the fracture. Not a break in character, a break in coherence. This ability for your body. This is why we have neuroencoding. This is why you can have certain things pop up in your life and you have an instant memory of it. And your memory is wildly different than anyone else's. That's literally the brain rewiring when you yawn. Doesn't mean you're tired. I got great sleep last night. So this is how shame gets in its first foothold. You stop trusting your own inner signals. And you start outsourcing reality to others. Well, if that's what they say, that must be true. This making sense? Hang on with me because I'll walk you through this. You don't have to get agitated, frustrated, or upset with those who wired this. They didn't know this stuff. They literally did not know this. And I'm guessing if you've got a decade or two under your belt, or 3 or 4 or 5, you didn't know this either. Okay. So here's the neuro insight. What was happening in the brain, right? As your brain trainer and your neuroencoding specialist, your brain talk specialist, your self-talk specialist. From a neurological perspective, this is called cognitive dissonance. And it sets off a cascade of events, right? So this cognitive dissonance where we are mentally against what it is that we're seeing. So what happens? So let's look at it. We've heard these names before of these parts of the brain that get triggered and activated. The first one is the amygdala, that little almond-shaped thing in the center of your brain. That lights up when your inner experience is invalidated. You're angry. Oh, stop being dramatic. I'm angry. Right? As a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 20-year-old. Maybe you've been told that in a relationship. Oh my God, you're so dramatic. No, you were experiencing an experience that was your experience. So then what happens is the amygdala, the threat detection center, says, I'm in a disagreement. I'm in an argument. I'm in a fight or flight. I'm in a survival mode because this is a true internal expression. So then what happens is that the hippocampus then stores that moment, and it creates a pattern, creates a template. You've heard me say, it's not about doing certain things, right? Wallace D. Waddle said that in his book, Science of Getting Rich. It's not about doing certain things. It's about doing them in a certain way. Wayne Dyer said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. The hippocampus creates a memory, right? Because the brain does two things. Will it kill me, or how fast can I recognize a pattern? And since this is a very dramatic, emotional pattern, it says I need to set up a formula for this to work so that I can deal with it and not have to go through this emotion. And I just wind up shutting down or turning off or doing something. I need a response when I get triggered. This making sense? So the hippocampus stores that moment as a template, as a pattern for future interaction. Then, right, this part of the brain, when the amygdala fires, we can shut down 25% of our prefrontal cortex, our cognitive thinking. So then the prefrontal cortex is brought in and turned on and says, hey, listen, I'm the one responsible for reasoning, the prefrontal cortex, the PFC, private first class. The prefrontal cortex says, wait a minute, if this is true and that's the pattern and this is how we survive, then I have to come up with an agreement that says my feelings aren't trustworthy. My feelings are not trustworthy. Sounds like a great recipe so far, right? And this is simply happening because when you were little and you kept asking questions and they said, why don't you just stay in your place? Kids should be seen, not heard. Listen, the good news, the great news is you know how it got wired. And if we know how something is wired, we can begin to rewire, unwire it. This isn't like when you get a house and they say, well, you need a whole new set of plumbing and electrical. And they rip the walls out to redo everything. There's some bad connections in our brain. And we can undo those. We can rewire those connections. So the internal conflict creates this neural pruning of authentic responses. They've literally done tests now with fMRIs, functional magnetic resonance imaging machines. And they can literally see when a new thought comes in, that synapse reaching out, if you've never seen it, and another synapse reaching out, and all of a sudden they connect. And then when the old idea is done, you can literally see that disconnection. It's called neural pruning, like pruning a tree or a plant. And it literally cuts that connection. Now, some of these things we have wired in there. 2 hours of a conversation doesn't undo 2 decades of strong emotional disbelief. So this internal conflict creates a neural pruning of your authentic responses and reinforcement of fawn, freeze, comply behavior. Right? This authentic response of you stepping into who you're supposed to be, who you know you are, and then we start doubting ourselves. So over time, our DMN, our default mode network, adapts around this fracture. Listen carefully. I'll ask you this question right now. So the big question is it easier to trust yourself or to trust your distrust? It becomes safer to distrust yourself. This is what we call being in a comfort zone. We say it's nice things like a comfort zone. It is a freaking pain zone that you have been wired, programmed into, that you are so afraid, deathly afraid to step out of, that if you do, somebody's going to yell at you. I asked the question, who's going to be jealous? Who's going to be mad at your success? Nobody. That is the first lie. They don't have to be raging mad with a baseball bat. How many of us have been shut down with a look? With the sound of a voice, a sound that's made, right? What's the matter? What's the matter? You don't like what I do? Right? It becomes safer to distrust ourselves than to feel what was true and risk rejection again. This is the addiction to approval. But this is the fractured truth. You know your dreams are real. You know your wants are real. You know you can go after them. It's overcoming the shame monster that keeps us from doing it. So what does it look like? What does it look like as an adult? See if you know anybody who's like this. Listen carefully. What does this look like? This fractured truth, this distrust in ourselves. It's easier to believe in, it's easier to just live with the distrust. Here's what it looks like in an adult. You ready? Over-explaining when someone doubts you. Second-guessing your gut, even when it's right. Feeling disconnected from your why. Spiraling when somebody invalidates your experience. And seeking outside approval to confirm what you feel inside. There's a handful of examples. You know anybody like that? So what it sounds like, this internal dialogue. What does it sound like to have this, to know you've been fractured, to know you have programmed yourself by living this fractured truth? Hey, listen, so here's what you might say on the inside. What you might say, what they might say on the inside. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. I shouldn't feel this way. I don't know if I'm overacting or not. Maybe they're right. Maybe it was my fault. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Ever hear anything like that? So how do we address and upgrade this fracture? This isn't about blaming the past, because right now you could be in a shame loop. Breathe. That's not you. That's an old story of you. Breathe. I'm here excited to learn about this new story I can tell. Get yourself centered. Come back from the edge. This isn't about blaming the past. It's about reconnecting the circuit between sensation and trust. Sensation and trust. Having the feeling and trusting yourself. Having that gut feeling saying, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. I may have a learning experience. I'm going to go do it rather than completely avoid it. Does that make sense? So here's how we begin. Say to yourself, what I felt was real, even if no one validated it. The fact that they didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. How many of us, when we watch a movie and somebody has a UFO experience and they go, nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe we saw that, right? What I saw it was real, right? Nobody's going to believe you saw your dreams. There's no way you could do that. There's no way you saw that. And so we wind up allowing distrust. So what we need to do is we need to reaffirm the validity of our internal experience. What I felt was real for me, even if no one validated it. Now, it may not be a long-term thing you want to serve you. It's important for you to have the sensation and then to trust the sensation. Does that make sense? So practice sensation to language mapping, right? Visualization. So what am I feeling in my body right now? Right now, where do you feel in your body any energy? Any excitement? Any resistance? What is the sensation telling you? Map it in your body. Write it down so you can go back and look at it. Where do you feel energy in your body? Good, bad, and different? What am I feeling in my body right now? In my shoulders, in my chest, in my gut, in my back, in my hips, in my pinky toe? If your body could speak, what would it say? These are powerhouse questions to help you undo, to rewire. So here's the questions again. What am I feeling in my body right now? What is that sensation trying to tell me? Question 2. What is that sensation trying to tell me? What am I feeling in my body right now? Number 1. Number 2, what is that sensation trying to tell me? And if my body could speak, what would it say? This rewires interoceptive awareness, connecting the limbic system. The limbic is all feelings. There's no words in the feelings. There's no words in the brain. This is connecting the limbic system with the higher reasoning, your awareness. Right? What am I feeling in my body right now? What is what is that sensation that I'm feeling? What is that sensation trying to tell me? And if my body could speak, what would it say? And listen, you're learning a new language. You're learning the unshaming language. So you may not have words for it in the very beginning. I would encourage you to have the higher reasoning part of your brain active, which is the language side of it. The limbic system, there's no feelings. There's no, it's all feelings. It's all feelings. There's no words. So let's re-script these old moments. Return to a moment where your truth was denied. Hey, listen, it could have been this morning. Why do you put that creamer in your coffee? I don't know. I'm just saying it could be as recent and as programmed and as wired in, you're not even recognizing. So here's what you wish had been said to you. Right? When somebody doubted you, go back to a moment where you were distrusted, where that moment where your truth was denied. Now imagine that person or even you saying, I believe in you. That was real. Your feelings make sense. I believe in you. That was real. Imagine if they said that. I saw a UFO. I believe you. That was real. Your feelings make sense. You didn't make that up. And here's why this is important in the brain. This reactivates the mirror neuron system in your right prefrontal cortex, allowing emotional memory to be updated with new context. This is pretty powerful stuff. Go back to a moment where your truth was denied and imagine them saying to you, I believe in you. That was real. Your feelings make sense. You didn't make that up. I believe you. What we're doing is the mirror neurons, right? Because mirror neurons, you yawn, I yawn. You get upset, I get upset. You back away, I back away. Mirror neurons are designed. We will mirror our environment to keep us safe. It's called herd mentality. Mirror neurons in the right prefrontal cortex, right up here, right prefrontal cortex, allowing the emotional memory to be updated with new context. This is why when I take people through trauma situations and we go back to the moment before and we do some neural pre-programming for the situation, then go back to that trauma moment and it doesn't hit the same way. It's because we've updated the mirror neuron system with new context. Does that make sense? So, fractured truth was never about the moment you got it wrong. You didn't get it wrong. It was a moment that somebody else couldn't handle what was real for you. Fractured truth was never about the moment you got it wrong. It was about the moment when someone else could not handle what was real for you. Now you get to handle it with truth, presence, and power. You've heard me in many of our sessions when somebody says, Murph, you're an idiot. I know. That's my response. There's no doubt I'm an idiot in many areas of life. And if that's somebody's thought, there's no reason for me to deny or argue with their opinion. Opinions are like eyebrows. Everybody's got a couple. If I start to argue or that triggers an old thing, when my mom used to tell me you're an idiot. One of her phrases, I went to a very expensive private high school. And when I would do things wrong, she'd say, "Way to go, Gilmore," which was the name of the school, Gilmore Academy. That, when I heard "way to go, Gilmore," I was the whole you're useless story came in. So it's not about the moment. It's not about the moment you got it wrong. It's about the moment when you realized they couldn't handle what was going on for you right now. They couldn't handle what was real for you. And the reason they couldn't handle what was real for you is because maybe their version of it was completely different. You could be sitting right next to somebody at an event and have two totally different experiences. Right? So it's why be responsible to them, not for them. All of these little sayings, all of these little nuggets over the years of our conversations are beginning, hopefully they're beginning to make sense. Now I understand. So now you get to handle it with truth, presence, and power. So, understanding that this is guiding you through a rewiring of emotional authority. Who's in charge? Who's responsible for your emotional presence? So, if you've ever heard of the resorts called hedonism, hedonics is actually a scientific name, is a neurological understanding of us responsible for our own pleasure. That's what hedonics means. And what we're doing here is we're opening up this hedonistic coping habits. We are responsible for our own feelings. Hedonistic coping habits, right? To feel okay when somebody has a response to you. So these feel-good behaviors that we're teaching aren't random. These things that we do, they're substitute regulators. We want to upgrade the way we regulate our body. So when we said, well, I guess I'm too much, or maybe they are right, I'm not right, we substituted our authenticity, right? So these things we did were artificial ways to soothe our nervous system in response to this fractured identity. This happens in relationships. We call it gaslighting, right? Somebody came up with the term gaslighting, where you're made to think that it's always your fault. Those are fractured truths. So what I'm going to do is walk you through an exercise to reveal some of your hedonistic coping mechanisms, trace them back to what emotional void or distortion they were covering, help reframe them as a survival and not shame, right? Because shame is us really wanting to survive, but we didn't think we were in a survival thing because that means they had to be against us. We just thought it was we were the problem. So, and then we're going to replace this behavior with conscious self-regulation. Okay. So what helped you escape? Right? What were the rewards you used that became emotional anesthesia for you? See, that's the challenge when you start to wake up to your authentic self. You realize you're coming out of the anesthesia. So what are some behaviors? If you had to list some behaviors right now that you were using to emotionally numb, or when you're overwhelmed or unsure of what you're supposed to do next, what are some things you do? See if any of these are on the list. Scrolling mindlessly, overeating or binging, how do you even say that? Workaholism, shopping, Netflix, YouTube binders. How about needing to fix other people, or ghosting or disappearing, seeking approval or praise? Now ask, if those come up in the future, or maybe if you can think of a recent one, ask, what emotion was I trying not to feel when I did that? What belief was I trying to override? What truth about myself was I afraid might be real? What emotion was I trying to feel when I did that? I used the scrolling or the shopping or the whatever, seeking approval or Netflixing or YouTubing. What emotion was I trying not to feel when I did that? What belief was I trying to override? And what truth about myself was I afraid might be real? So let's distinguish the difference between authentic pleasure or shame-based coping. Here's what I want you to do. 2 columns, right? Left-hand side, right-hand side. Authentic pleasure. Here's the definition of authentic pleasure. It fulfills me. It nourishes connection with me and with others. It restores presence, meaning it brings you back into center. and it expands your true identity. That's authentic pleasure. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do something in just a moment, and you're going to put some of these things underneath these columns. One is authentic pleasure. The other one, the other column, the right-hand side, is shame-based protection. All right. So here's some of the nuances of shame-based protection. It distracts me. I avoid vulnerability. Avoids vulnerability. Delays discomfort. Delays discomfort. And reinforces false roles or titles. Reinforces false roles / titles. So you got the two columns, authentic pleasure or shame-based protection. Now here's the exercise. What are some of your top feel-good behaviors that you do? Top feel-good behaviors. Example, wine after work. That could be authentic or it could be shame-driven. Which column would you put that in if that's something you do? Right? Is this behavior expanding my presence or am I escaping my truth? Which one is it? Expanding or escaping? So could it be scrolling? What are some of the things you do that you get excited about? How about multitasking? TV's on, you're on your phone. Not really paying attention to either. How about diving into reading a book that you don't even remember what you read? Maybe you do. What are some of your top feel-good behaviors, and put them in the correct column? All right. This is just for you to become aware. So to expose the emotional reward, we're going to look at a loop reward map. Right? To expose the emotional reward each loop secretly provides. So what are 3 of your top shame-based behaviors or loops? So look at one of the things in your right-hand column. And again, you may come back to this part and listen to it and go through the exercise again. But if you look at 3 of your top shame-based behaviors and ask, what need is this meeting? What need, underline need, is this shame loop behavior, this unauthentic thing meeting? Is it allowing me control? Is it giving me attention? Am I getting validation? Is it an escape? What feeling does it temporarily relieve? Right? Potential rejection. So you avoid talking to people because you could be rejected. So you go scroll for 20 minutes or 2 hours. What feeling does it temporarily relieve? And the last question, what cost does it carry over time? Right? That's kind of a Dickens process question. What cost does it carry over time? Examples, people pleasing. I like to please people. The need is to not be rejected. I like to make sure everybody's happy, even though you're being torn from limb to limb. How about The need, how about the relief it provides? Avoiding confrontation. And what is the cost? Self-abandonment, resentment. You feel bad that you always, I don't know why I always do that. I don't know why I can't just stand up for myself. I don't even like them. Right? So now create a new column. How can I meet this need through conscious self-trust or expression? What would this look like? What would this rescripting of this fracture look like? How can I meet this need through conscious self-trust or expression? So what if we begin to rescript this fracture that was put into us? To bring awareness back to that first moment, you overrode your truth for safety. Remember, that's all the brain is looking for. Will this kill me? Safety, or how fast can I recognize the pattern? And if it's about to kill you, you will go back to safety patterns, to an identity, to where you know you'll be safe. That's why every time you set a goal, every time you set a dream, every time you set a task to go do something bigger, to change your identity, your brain literally is wired to that is unsafe. But I want that thing. I know it would be good for me. I could keep my promises. I could take care of my family. I could pay off my debt. I could have this. I could have that. I could have this. How is it possible that this new comfort zone that would really be comfortable and so much more comfortable and less painful than your current pain zone? How is it that we're not able to go after that instantly, effortlessly? It's because of the shame loops, these shame monsters, this addiction to approval. So let's do a little reflection. What's the earliest memory you have of feeling something strongly, but being told not to trust it? What did you feel? What were you told instead? What did you do with that feeling? I want to be a fireman. I want to be a ballerina. I want to be a truck driver. That was me, scared the living bejeebies out of my mother. She told me years later, whenever we would go, I would always draw trucks and say, I'm going to be an over-the-road trucker, Mom. And she didn't say, no, that's stupid. She was wanting to be kind, wanting to be supportive. Oh, that'll be great because you're 8 years old. Let them dream. Didn't want to be an astronaut. I said, I want to be a truck driver. I eventually drove trucks, but not for a living, for my own companies. So I was an over-the-road truck driver, but not like the one my mom thought. I'd be gone for weeks and all of that stuff and be 200 pounds, 280 pounds, right? Big. So now, what's the earliest moment of the feeling of when you felt something strongly, yet you were told not to trust it? Now write a compassionate rescript for it. If I could go back to that moment with the wisdom I now have, if I could go back to that moment, you may want to write the sentence down. If I could go back to that moment with the wisdom I now have, what would I say to that younger version of me? If I could go back to that moment where you strongly felt something and where you were told to not trust it, if I could go back to that moment with the wisdom I have now, what would I say to that younger version of me? I'd encourage you to speak it out loud. This is allowing us to have this vocal empowerment and right brain emotional reframing. So here's the thing. So let's do a little more reframing, right? Because that's all what this is about. Write this down. What I used to say to justify it. What did you used to say to justify when you were told you're too much? See, we're not even sometimes aware of it because it happens so fast, so often. We came up with a response that was just instantly plugged in. What did you used to say to justify it? And what I now say to offer safety instead? What would you now say? So you want to start scrolling. What did you used to say to justify the 2 hours of scrolling you knew was about to happen, or an hour of scrolling, or 30 minutes of scrolling, or just flipping through the TV? If you became consciously aware of that moment where you are doing something to avoid your own awareness, what did you used to say to justify that? What would you say now? Here's some old self-talk you might have said. I deserve this after a day like today. How many of us have ever said, I know I've said that. I deserve this. After a day like today, I deserve this. What if the rewire went like this? What I really deserve is stillness, some clarity, and some nourishment. You're going to go eat ice cream or have 17 cheeseburgers. I deserve this after a day like today. Instead, the rewire might sound like, what I really deserve is stillness, clarity, and nourishment. So, this fractured truth, the F in family, teaches us to doubt ourselves, taught us to doubt ourselves. Approval addiction teaches us to perform for others. That's going to be the A in family. Most people didn't recognize their addiction to approval. It's because we were raised and called it being nice, being helpful, being easy to get along with, being respectful, being a bigger person. When we have our next session, that's what we'll be talking about there, the A in family. So tell me, what'd you learn about the fractured truth? What's your lessons? What's your takeaways? What's your ahas? What'd you learn? What'd you like? What questions might you have about the F in family, fractured truth?
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Louise.
How are you? How are you?
Outstanding.
I am
Unfractured.
too. I am too. I feel like I've just lived this. And
no, really?
Interesting. Really interesting, because I'm the one who was saying it to myself, having to do with the date being the 9th of May.
Yeah.
And you know how I was, because I went, I can't do it. I mean, I can't do it because of all this, and this, so it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for the question, because although I still battled with myself, it was me saying, no, you can't do it because this isn't going to happen. This was the plan, and it's not going to be like that, so it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
because there's these rules. I'm like,
Mhm.
where did those rules come from? What happened, thanks to you questioning me, and I continued to battle it to a point. And what happened was, after our conversation, I went, well, there, yeah, I this can still happen. Well, actually, yeah, there's the funds, and that can be used for this, that, and the other thing, really. And all, I mean, everything. I printed out the family acronym, and I went, oh my gosh, went through all of it. But this in particular, I can't. We had a great time. It happened. The date happened. The dinner happened. It was probably better than it would have been. It was sensational. The Everything just was wonderful, wonderful. And when we both came back to the house and were just ruminate, we went, we have to bottle this up, because this because the celebration was I was celebrating me and him and this, the dream.
Right.
And we talked the dream. I've never talked the dream with him
Wow.
completely.
How's that
And
make you feel?
oh my gosh, it was amazing. But what I just am
How many years
so
together?
45.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's usually when it happens. About four. So for those of you who are married, about 45 years in is when you really start to say, you know what, we should work together.
There's so much that has come out of it with regards to just all the stuff that I do with women. And
Hmm.
I mean, it things I had never thought of. However, the idea of bottling this up, our future our future is something to fight for.
Right.
And so the question of when you were asking, I've got to rewrite all of this, but when you were asking, what if you decide to do this, the shame-based stuff, when you're asking, I'm looking for the question, it was my answer that I've actually never really authentically said is,
Hmm.
you can have this temporary and feel good, or you can have that regret, that horrible woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff. It's I received this differently. There's going to be work. I mean, I'm not cured yet.
But it's fun. It's worth it. I was
Oh
talking to
my
somebody,
gosh, it's so worth it. And
right? So it's
I can't
worth it,
thank
not
you.
right?
I
It's
can't thank you
exciting.
enough. I can't thank me enough for calling you,
Well, you can
for
try to
saying
thank
I
me.
got to talk to him.
You can try to thank me. No, I'm teasing.
Well, I do. I can't thank you
No.
enough. I mean, that was, I knew I would get the question, and I'm like, but oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Here's
There
the
was a
neat thing. Here's the
paradigm
neat thing,
shift.
right? May 9th came, you had a great thing, and you bottled up something.
Yeah.
Guess what? Let's set a goal for June 9th,
All right.
right? Why wait?
Yeah.
No, it's if we don't keep inching forward, chipping away, chippy away, chippy away, chippy away, moving forward, unlocking. Now it's June 9th. In 2 months, you've done more than you have in 45 years. I think that's a good goal. I think that's a great target. Now you have, right, the Belgian draft horses pulled 12,000 pounds. Hook two of them together, that's 24,000 pounds. They'll pull 36,000 pounds, two of them. Why? Because they push each other.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to bottle it up and push each other, share with each other, give with each other.
Well, there's so many best things. Waking up this morning it's an old story. It's a new old story. It's a great story. The thing was that had I not contacted you, what was happening to me was all of the see, you couldn't do it.
Mhm.
See, it's not going to happen. This is, you knew this the whole time. And I'm like, I can't accept this. I told 4 people in a garage.
Mhm.
Well, I think I said May 6th. You all, everybody else said May 9th. So I must have written it down wrong. I don't know. But at any rate, I kept May 9th because I went, I'm going to go with the majority. Because AJ thought it was May 9th. You thought it was
Yeah.
May 9th. Ruth thought it was May 9th, and I went with, anyway, other people, it's all great.
Yep.
But what I was so shamed, I just chose shame to say, well, see, it didn't happen. It can't happen. It's, we'll just use this. I'll just pay off. I don't know what, something. I don't, but I didn't get that far. I hadn't even identified what I was going to pay off. It was like, no, this is for this. It's happening. Make it happen.
Yep.
And that after our conversation, it was a done deal.
So
Thank
is this a
you, thank
moment
you,
glad
thank
you did rather than wish you had?
Oh my gosh.
This is the
So
evidence.
glad.
This is
So glad.
this is where we have to have our evidence folder. We have to have the evidence that, hey, listen, it didn't show up. I was planning spaghetti and I got sausage. We ate, but I have no idea how the hell this happened. Because this was not the plan. But the plan is, am I flexible enough to keep my goal?
Oh, whoa. I got to write that down.
Flexibility doesn't mean I lost. Flexibility means the enemy was bigger and I needed a new plan. I crossed the finish line. Now, if I know I can cross the finish line, this time I can go with authority. I can go with authenticity. I had to break through to this feeling, to this moment, through a very flexible, it's not what I wanted. No, you missed out what you wanted when you realized that you got exactly what you wanted. Never in a million years would you have come home from O'Toole's or whatever it was, Sean, whatever it was, and bottled it up because you'd have been exhausted. You'd have had the train, the plane, the bus, the this, the that, and the other.
Yep.
For you to come home after 45 years and say bottled it, I'd say, God dang it, I won. I kicked its tail to the curb and I beat vulnerability and I beat lack and I beat distrust and I beat delay. And for 45 years, we've had something we've never had. I would be singing that from the rooftops.
It is awesome.
And now I got evidence and I can't wait to show you what I'm going to do by June 10th.
9.
I know, but I gave you another.
I share on. Yeah, right. Okay. Yes.
Feel the difference?
I'm very excited. My whole body is vibrating.
This is doing things in a certain way. You cannot explain it. You can't read a book about it. You can't keep journaling about it. You have to have the feeling. And from this feeling, there's nothing that can make this feeling leave your body except an old story. Which is why we have to become fully aware, instantly aware of where it's sneaking in our body, where it's rising up in our body, where we become aware saying, this doesn't feel right. What is that feeling? What am I why am I feeling this to avoid what?
Dang.
And when we have these, because if we're not saying it, it's saying it at thousands of words an hour. And we literally beat ourselves up. We go into our own silence and we get crushed. And it's not the one The one who has the goal, has the dream, has the desire, has the wants to be outstanding, isn't the one having the conversation saying you're a loser, you couldn't do this, so you've never done this, I don't know why you'd want to do this, you keep putting yourself into this spot every time. That is not the one who said, I'm going to dinner. The one who said, I'm going to dinner, hell or high water, I don't care what it looks like. I did it and came home and had an experience I never had in 45 years. We need to bottle this up. I'd say that's a pretty freaking big ass win.
Agree.
And we have to pour it all over us, bathe in it, drip in it, all over, feel it's running, the honey running out of your mouth is just abundance. And we got to get loud. Physiology, focus, language and meaning. We have to move our body. You know why the sheep jump the way they jump? They are moving their body.
They're so cute.
They give that little high kick. It's like, what was that for?
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Wonderful. And there was a thought that I went like, oh, I'm so glad Steve had a good time. And I went, no, you had a good time. And your excitement and vibration overflowed to change the way someone else looked at stuff.
So did you thank him?
I did.
Good. And that's the
over and over and over again.
Did you thank yourself?
No, I forgot.
No.
Thank you, Louise.
Right? Say it again.
Thank you, Louise.
We need to do that because again, people pleasing and we avoid any of the confrontation. But we have to thank ourselves.
Well, and thank you for coming to dinner with us because we were given 3 menus and every single one was different. And I just went, oh, holy cow. And Steve looks at this and he says, so what do we do? And I said, we make a decision. That's what we do. It was so, oh my gosh, it was so fun. It was
so relive it. Talk about it today.
Yes.
Talk about the spoon that was this, or the fork that was that, or the plate that had the look on it, or whatever it was.
Or the chocolate whiskey ice cream homemade. Yeah.
Talk about it. Thank him again. Say, I got to brag on you today because I got to tell him about something we did in 45 years we hadn't done before. Thank you for letting me brag on you this morning. They got to know they're a part of it.
Yeah, it's good. The Post-it notes weren't a bad idea either.
Congratulations.
Priming. It was priming.
Yes, absolutely. But that's what it is. It's always about priming for the place that we're going to get, because here's what I know. The moment you left the house to go to dinner, the experience was more than you expected.
Oh, yeah.
The universe will always deliver more than you expect if you are in the place of going, I'm just excited. Show me what you got. I dare you. Show me what you got, big boy. And the universe will always excite you. Will always supersede anything, because it's nothing for the universe to outdo anything we could think of. We have to be okay with, well, I need to know it needs to happen this way, no.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah. Can you allow the universe to surprise you? And then kind of like when you give somebody a surprise party, they're like, oh, I really didn't want a surprise party. So we have to let the universe, I love this. This is awesome. And it's the little things, the whiskey, chocolate, homemade cake, whatever that, right? You didn't expect
it was
all of these things, and we got to stay enthusiastic, because now that draws more whiskey, chocolate, homemade brownie cake, whatever it was. That brings a feeling of, oh my God, because now what you're going to say is, oh, remember the cake and what's this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is just like that. Now the energy is there. It's a different strategy. It's the same feeling. We have to elevate our feeling. We got to get excited. We got to get loud. We got to get this. And then we can do this quietly. You can sit with this absolute rage of joy, rage of love. And everybody's like, what's wrong with you? What's right with me?
What's right with me? Yeah.
Feel it?
I do.
That is the secret. That is the secret that's on every page in the book, Think and Grow Rich. That feeling you're currently feeling, when you get it, when you see it, when you hear it, Stop, turn down a drink because your life will never be the same. No fewer than 100 times has the secret to success been revealed on these pages, it says in the preface, in the originals, the
Oh,
non-current
wow.
ones. No fewer than 100 times has the secret to success been revealed on these pages. Your job is to be ready to receive it. And when you do, stop, turn down a drink, for your life will never be the same. Hang on. Right, this is the one that's been chewed and eaten by the dogs.
Oh, that's the chewed book.
Yes. Okay. Somewhere as you read, to the secret to which I refer will jump off the page and stand boldly before you if you are ready for it. When it appears, you will recognize it. I always get emotional. Whether you receive the sign in the first or the last chapter, stop for a moment when it presents itself, turn down a glass, for that occasion will mark the most important turning point in your life.
Oh, wow.
In the word from the author part. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when they are mixed with the definiteness of purpose, persistence, and burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects. So there you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the S. Right? Why, oh my God. This is going to be like 100 hours because it's keeping you from your success. We have to go, we have to chisel, we've got to mine, we've got to uncover. And soon as you get to the key, it's just, we're going on a what's Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones journey. And we're going to go find the Holy Grail. And when you find the Holy Grail, life will never be the same. You have a thought, it will instantly appear. Imagine that. You have a thought and the result instantly appears. It may take the universe some time to build it, but you have a thought and you are so confident, so shameless in your understanding of it that it instantly appears, and you step into the vibration and you have this cascading effect of success after success after success after success. That people, that it says in the book, once this happens, you'll wonder where it was during all the lean times. That's my goal, is to get you there, that this success flows and cascades into your life with such vigor, such furiousness, such ferocity, that you'd be like, where was all of this during the lean times? It was always there, as close as your skin. I love you tons. I'm your head brain training. Let's undo the shame monster and have more fun. I'll see y'all where?
Next
The
event.
next event.
I love it, love it, love it. Somebody give me some Costa Rica.
Pura vida.
Pura vida. We love you, Mark. And some Lydia.
Peace be with us.
Peace be with us all. And the queen of helping you step into your best version, Jessie Lee Ward.
Boss Lee.
Lee, we love you, girl. And a little white fluffy.
Gurgly,
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 Gurgly. All right, everybody. I love you tons. We will see you all Monday morning, and we'll talk then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sean.
Thank you,
Love
guys.
you all. Have a great day.